Hey everybody, it's TT Angie. I thought I'd take a few minutes and just jump on here and talk about something that I find to be extremely near and dear to my heart, and that is, of course, the judicial system. And recently, I've seen so many things in the news about wrongful convictions. I know that it's probably not the thing that people like to talk about too much because it shows that the system is flawed, and the reason behind the flawed system is humans. We're human beings. We make mistakes a lot, sometimes more than others. And when it comes to people's lives, I think that people don't really take a lot of time and effort to think about what is it behind that, and why is that it's happening more and more. But I digress. So, anyways, let's move into this topic. I promise I won't take a lot of your time, so it's just going to be a few minutes. So, what do we need to do to stop these wrongful convictions? We know it's going to happen. It's not a one off anymore. It used to be, but now it's starting to become more of a less rare thing that's happening. And why? Hold prosecutors and detectives accountable. That's number one. How about don't charge when there is no evidence? That's pretty daggone simple. I thought it was, but maybe it isn't. I think that in that aspect, how about we train our police and our prosecutors to avoid tunnel vision and confirmation bias, which means that they they have an allegation. They have somebody that somebody said did something. They go pick them up, and that's kind of where they stay. They don't look and say, "Oh, maybe this person did something. Let me talk to this person and find out." And then you hear something like, "Oh, that's an interesting thing. Let me go a little further into that." They don't do that, my dears. We always think that people or the detectives are doing a thorough investigation, and 9 times out of 10, they're not. You can ask any person who was wrongfully convicted, and they're going to say that a flawed investigation was probably what started the whole process for them. And I don't think people understand the process of what happens when someone makes an allegation against you. You are now on what I call the hamster wheel of justice. It never ends. It continues to spin and spin and spin. It comes to the point where the head is a charge and an indictment. It doesn't take a lot to get an indictment anymore. Probable cause, what is that? Basically, it's nothing. It says maybe you could have done it. Maybe you had the possible time to do it. I don't know. Possibly. That, in a nutshell, is probable cause. And that's what they take to the grand juries for the indictment, because you have to have an indictment to start the whole, to go move any further and through the process, which means the next phase is now going to court and proving your innocence, because now you are formally charged, and they can go and arrest you, put you in jail. And jail is in the county, so that they pick somebody up, they put them in jail, they go through that first hearing to get the bond. If they're able to get a bond, depending on the crime, they can or cannot get a bond. And then if you can afford your bond, you're not going home. You're going to stay in jail. And some bonds are so high that unless you're like a multimillionaire, you're not going home. So that's one part of the issue. So the other part comes to, and I think that people will take a lot more offense to it because it's your everyday average Joe or Jane walking down the street who is asked and tasked to serve on a jury. Juries are humans. I don't know, last I checked, I don't think there's any kind of robots or anything or aliens on there. And aliens, I mean from a different planet. So these are human beings, and they're average people, just like you and me, picked up or picked off the street to go in and do your summons. And what do? You get chosen to be on a jury. that's a huge part of wrongful conviction. Those reforms are really needed. I think that when you're going through the whole process of being on a jury, you need to be educated on implicit bias, reasonable doubt. I think everybody needs to know what reasonable doubt is. I mean, if you are going to take somebody's life and flip it on its head, whoops, and mess up their whole entire world, you better have 100% that says in your mind that they did this crime. And part of that includes evidentiary support. I don't know if y'all watched Elle Wood's Legally Blonde, but number one, you gotta have evidentiary support. 9 times out of 10, you ain't gonna have evidentiary support. And that in itself creates a reasonable doubt. And I think people forget that. So jurors do forget that that is a cornerstone of justice, is reasonable doubt and not having it to convict somebody. I mean, you better be 100% spot on. They did it to be able to convict. There's also limits to memory related to witnesses. I think, and I know that people aren't going to like this either, but jurors don't face consequences for misunderstanding evidence or being biased. They're not held accountable when somebody is found to be wrongfully convicted. The people are going to sue the state and the county. They're not going to sue the individual jurors. Should they? Yeah, but they can't. So I really think that there should be some accountability for that. But I know that's not going to happen. So with that being said, I think fear-based reactions also replace any kind of analysis of any preponderance of facts. I think people are going to make decisions based on their emotions, and that's not a really good thing. You should want there to be evidence and facts, not conjectures based on convicting somebody. I think also jurors have this implicit bias and assume that police don't lie, prosecutors don't lie, they don't bring weak cases unless they have lots of evidence. So anything the prosecution presents, it's evidence, and when it's really not, it's just conjectures. And they believe, when they walk in, jurors believe that the defendant is already guilty, because if they aren't there, there would be no reason for them to be there if they weren't already guilty. So they really need to work on that. You should walk into a juror into a courtroom with an open mind to hear everything and not have your own mind made up. I think a lot of that has to do with the media coverage, social media, community, all these rumors, and they can shape all these opinions of jurors and trial. If you think people don't go in there already knowing something about something, you're crazy. I don't know if you guys have looked on Facebook or even on this app. You see the blot thingy, the pages with those people they're showing, and what happens? Oh my God, the comment sections are absolutely insane. And people are already prejudging, and they don't even know what's going on, what happened, what happened. So I think there's just too much influence on the outside going into the courtroom. And how about, I don't know, treat accuracy more important than anything? I know that it's hard for people to think that way when there are children involved, but you have to do that. That's part of the process. You're not the savior. You're not the great savior for anybody by convicting someone wrongfully. I think that wrongful convictions aren't caused by bad apples. They're caused by predictable human errors and system pressures. We have to do better, folks. Anyways, that's my soapbox. I'm getting off it right now. All right, talk to you later. Bye.